Good morning, students. Uh, Let us discuss the new chapter called Transport in Plants. And actually, this chapter was deleted by PU board, but for the sake of competitive examinations like NEET, okay, it is very important. Okay, so we are going to teach this entire chapter in YouTube class. Okay, and here uh, let us understand about the brief introduction about the chapter, right? Okay. Then here, in case of plants, okay, what will be normally transported? Okay, usually in a flowering plant, the plant will absorb the water. Okay, it is the usual phenomenon. Okay, it will absorb water, then nutrients. Okay, then these water as well as the nutrients, they need to be transported to the remaining parts of the plant body. It means from the root system it should be transported to the remaining plant body. Like that, whatever the food is synthesized in the leaves, okay, that has to be transported to the remaining non-synthesizing parts of the plant body, okay, including the root tips. Okay, and here uh, transport of water and food in plants. Okay, and remember, xylem. Okay, what is the main function of the xylem here? Xylem will conduct water and the mineral nutrients, whereas the phloem is considered as the food conducting tissue, right? And here mm, uh, regarding the introduction part, we mentioned some important points here. Regarding the plants, they do not have interstitial fluid and circulatory system. Okay, and here interstitial fluid and circulatory system. Okay, and in case of animals, remember, in case of animals, there will be interstitial fluid as well as the circulatory system uh, to move the substances. Okay, but there is no any such kind of system in case of plants. Okay, but even then they need to move various substances. Okay, like it may be water, then it may be minerals, or it may be organic nutrients, and even the growth regulators or growth hormones. Okay, and all these should be uh, transported, okay, to the different parts or to the long distances, right? Okay, plants do not have interstitial fluid and circulatory system like that of animals, but even then they need to move various substances over long distances. Okay, various substances means what here? It may be water, then minerals, or it may be organic nutrients and growth regulators or growth hormones, etc., right? Okay. And uh, and here in plant, okay, in a plant, the direction of transport. Okay, and before that one, we are going to study two important terms here. Okay, what are those? One is uh, the transportation and translocation. Okay, what is the difference here? Okay, if the substances move for very small distances, we call it as transportation, and if the substances move over a longer distances, it can be called as translocation. Okay, and how the process will occur here? Okay, in a flowering plant, uh, in a flowering plant, the small distance, okay, or the transportation, it occurs by diffusion and by even by cytoplasmic streaming. Okay, supplemented by the active transport. Okay, in a short distance transport, okay, it occurs by cytoplasmic streaming, then diffusion, then it will be supplemented by the active transport. Okay, and what is the difference here regarding translocation? Transport over longer distances, which occurs or proceeds through the vascular system. Vascular tissue system means what here? It is nothing but the xylem and phloem. Okay, then it is said to be translocation, right? And let us move on to the direction of transport. Okay, and here in plants we observe the two different methods here. One is called as the unidirectional transport and another one is called as the multi-directional transport. Okay, unidirectional transport means what here? Example, for example, transport of water and minerals. Okay, and here transport of water and minerals in xylem. Okay, okay, yeah. And remember, all this will be absorbed from the roots, then they are transported to the remaining parts of the plant. Okay, that is from roots to stem, leaves, etc., right? Okay, then another type is multi-directional transport. Okay, multi-directional transport, say for example, transport of photosynthesis or organic compounds. Okay, and here what we can say, the food which is produced in the leaves. Okay, transport of photosynthesis means what here? It is nothing but the food only, or we can mention it as organic compounds. Okay, then transport of mineral nutrients. Okay, these will show multi-directional transport. Okay, and here what we can understand now, direction of transport means what here? Okay, it involves the two important methods. One is the unidirectional transport and second one is the multi-directional transport. Okay, and regarding this one, examples have been given. Okay, for unidirectional transport, what is there? Transport of water and minerals in xylem. Okay, and for multi-directional transport, transport of photosynthesis or food or organic compounds. Okay, then transport of mineral nutrients, etc., right? And next one, sometimes plant hormones, sometimes plant hormones and other chemical stimuli. Okay, sometimes plant hormones as well as other chemical stimuli are transported in a polarized or in unidirectional manner from where they synthesize to other parts. Okay, it means it what here? Plant hormones or plant growth regulators and even some other chemical stimuli. Okay, they may be transported in an unidirectional manner. Okay, from where they are synthesized to other parts of the plant, right? Okay, and this is one thing. Okay, then another thing is in a plant. Okay, uh, organic compounds. Okay, I was discussing about the organic compounds of the food. Okay, which are synthesized in the leaves. They are exported to all other parts of the plant including storage organs. Okay, and even this food material from the storage organ, later they may be re-exported. They may be re-exported to other parts, right? Okay, and one more point is, when any plant part, remember, when any plant part undergoes senescence. Okay, senescence, the nutrients may be withdrawn. Okay, the nutrients may be withdrawn from such regions and they may be moved to the other growing parts. Okay, other growing parts, right? Okay, and in addition to this one, sometimes plant hormones and other chemical stimuli, okay, uh, are transported in a polarized or unidirectional manner from where they are synthesized to other organs, right? Okay, then let us understand about the means of transport. Okay, and here means of transport means what here? The various materials, the various materials which are transported into and out of a living cell. Okay, the various materials which are transported into and out of a living cell by a number of methods, right? And some of them are diffusion, then facilitated diffusion, as well as the third one will be active transport. Okay, diffusion, means of transport means what here? Three different methods are there. One is diffusion, then second one is facilitated diffusion, then third one is active transport. Okay, and here let us understand the processes one by one. Okay, the diffusion. Okay, in diffusion, okay, what is the definition here? It is the slow movement of gases. Okay, it is the slow movement of gases, then liquids and solutes from higher concentration to lower concentrated region without the energy expenditure, right? And here remember, we can also define like this: diffusion, the movement of molecules, okay, the movement of molecules or ions from the region of their higher concentration to the region of their lower concentration until the molecules are evenly distributed throughout the available space, okay, is known as diffusion. Okay, I will repeat it once again: the movement of molecules or ions from the region of their higher concentration to the region of their lower concentration until the molecules are evenly distributed throughout the available space is also known as diffusion. Okay, and here what we mentioned here, it is also correct. It is the slow movement of gases, liquids and solids from higher concentrated region to lower concentrated region without the energy expenditure. Okay, both are correct only. And next one is another important point is it may be from one part of the cell to the other. Okay, it means the diffusion may occur within a cell. Okay, within a cell from one part to the another part. Okay, or from cell to cell, it means from one cell to another cell, or over short distances, or over short distances. Okay, second point. Okay, all these are the uh, characteristics of diffusion only, right? And one more thing is third point. What is there? uh, it is not dependent on a living system. Okay, it is not dependent on a living system. Okay, one more important character, right? And in case of plants, it is the only means of gaseous movement in a plant body, right? And whatever the gaseous movement occurs within the plant, it mainly occurs by the process of diffusion only. Okay, this is one more point. Okay, and the other points are like this. Okay, and I will tell you the other points regarding the characteristics of diffusion. Okay, the diffusing molecules. Okay, the diffusing molecules, they move randomly along a concentration gradient, right? The diffusing molecules move randomly along concentration gradient. Okay, and one more important character is the direction of diffusion of one substance. The direction of diffusion of one substance is independent of the movement of another substance. Okay, this is also one character. Okay, all these are the characters of the diffusion only, right? Okay, then one more thing is regarding, and here in the given diagram you can understand the plasma membrane diagram is there, and we have studied that the plasma membrane is a lipid bilayer structure, right? And in the cell organelles we have studied about the ultra structure of a plasma membrane. What it shows? The lipid bilayer. Okay, lipid means two lipid layers will be there, and the outer part of the lipid, okay, it is hydrophilic one. Okay, the head part of the lipid, it is considered as hydrophilic one, whereas the tail is considered as the hydrophobic one. Okay, and here the diagram of plasma membrane is there. At one side, what is there? Higher concentrated region, at the another side, lower concentrated region. Okay, at here the diffusion will occur from uh, higher concentration region to the lower concentration region without the expenditure of energy, right? Okay, then let us move on to the other part. Okay, regarding the diffusion only. And here we are going to study about the important factors, okay, or the factors affecting the diffusion rates. Okay, diffusion rates, right? And here what are the important factors here? The rate of diffusion depends on the concentration gradient. Okay, the rate of diffusion depends on the concentration gradient. That is nothing but the difference in the uh, concentration. Okay, like a higher concentration and the lower concentration, right? Concentration gradient. Then second one is permeability of the membrane. Okay, the rate or the diffusion rate also depends on the permeability of the membrane, okay, or plasma membrane, right? Then third one is temperature and pressure. Okay, third one is temperature and pressure. And fourth one is size or density of the substances. Okay, it means smaller substances will diffuse faster. Okay, and next one is the solubility in lipids. Okay, solubility in lipids of the membrane substances. Solubility in lipids of the membrane. Okay, next uh, factor, solubility in lipids of the membrane. Okay, and it means the substances soluble in lipids diffuse through the membrane faster. Okay, diffuse through the membrane faster. Okay, but one more thing is uh, membrane faster. Okay, listen here. Solubility in lipids of the membrane. Okay, this is the fourth important uh, factor. Okay, and it means what here? So substances soluble in lipids, they diffuse through the membrane faster, right? Okay, then another concept is facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion. Okay, and here what is the difference here? How we can define this one? It is the diffusion of hydrophilic substances. Okay, it is the diffusion of hydrophilic substances with the help of membrane protein channels and without expenditure of ATP energy. Okay, and here we can also mention like this: facilitated diffusion means what here? The diffusion of hydrophilic substances. Okay, the diffusion of hydrophilic substances along the concentration gradient, through fixed membrane transport proteins, without energy involvement is called as facilitated diffusion. Okay, both the definitions will be same only. Okay, uh, it is the diffusion of hydrophilic substances with the help of membrane protein channels and without expenditure of ATP energy. For this we call it as the facilitated diffusion. Okay, and remember, it also needs a concentration gradient. Okay, it also needs a concentration gradient. Okay, and the third important point is it is very specific. Okay, it means what here? Cell will select the substances for uptake. Okay, and one more property is it is sensitive to inhibitors. Okay, it is sensitive to inhibitors or some chemicals that react with the protein side chain. Okay, that react with the protein side chains, right? Okay, and next one, transport rate reaches a maximum. Okay, transport rate reaches a maximum when all the protein transporters are being used means what here? They are when they are saturated. Okay, The transport rate reaches a maximum when all the protein transporters are being used or saturated, right? And here mm, uh, some other points, okay, regarding facilitated diffusion only, right? Again the same points are there, but in the diagram you can observe, okay, it also occurs according to the concentration gradient only, okay, that is from higher concentration to the lower concentration. But the thing is, the proteins are involved here, carrier proteins or the membrane proteins are involved, okay, and but it does not require any ATP or energy, right? And here uh, some proteins, okay, some proteins regarding the facilitated diffusion only, some proteins, some protein channels are always open, other can be controlled, and some are large sized, okay. And here these are the properties of proteins in the membrane, okay. What it says here, some protein channels are always open, they are always in a open condition, okay. Then it means they always allow the molecules to pass through them, and others can be controlled, some may be controlled one, and some are large sized, okay. Say for example porins, okay, porins are nothing but the proteins only which are present in the membrane, okay. And here you can observe in the diagram, aquaporine, it is nothing but protein only, then water molecules at one side, and this is the cell membrane, okay. And regarding the porins, okay, porins will form huge pores in the outer membrane of plastids, okay. We can give examples here where we can find the porins, okay. Porins form huge pores in the outer membrane of plastids. Plastid means what here, say for example chloroplast, okay, then mitochondria, okay, and even some bacteria, it means bacterial membranes, right? Molecules having size of small proteins can pass through them, okay. It means uh, because of the huge pores, even the small sized protein can also pass through them, right? Okay, this is one thing, okay. Then one more point is during the transport, how the process will occur here. During the facilitated diffusion, an extracellular molecule, okay, during the transportation process, what will happen here, an extracellular molecule binds to the transport protein, then it rotates means what here, that protein, membrane protein rotates and releases the molecule inside the cell, okay. And the diagram, the related diagram is here, okay. And here, okay, here what it explains about the movement of the substance or molecule towards the inner side of the cell. And in the first diagram, what you can understand here, the transporting molecule binds to a protein, okay, then protein undergoes some rotation, okay. After rotating, that molecule will be released inside the cell, okay, inside the cell, okay. And in first diagram you will find the attachment of the molecule to the membrane protein, and the second diagram, what you can understand here, that molecule, due to the rotation of the membrane protein, that molecule will be released inside the cell, right? Okay, outside the cell, then inside the cell, in between what will be there, membrane will be there, okay, right? And here uh, example, this is last point is regarding the transport of a molecule, how the transport molecule will transfer from outer side to the inner side, right? An extracellular molecule binds to the transport protein, then the transport protein rotates and releases the molecule inside the cell, okay. Example, water channels, okay. Water channels, why we are going to call them as the water channels, okay. They are made up of 8 types of aquaporins, okay, which can transfer the waters, okay. They are specific for waters, for the movement of water, right? They are called as the aquaporins, right? Okay. Then next one, next point. Okay, and here we can mention the passive unipores, then sympores and antipores. Okay, passive unipores, then sympores and antipores, right? And here uh, some carrier or transport proteins. Okay, some carrier or transport proteins, where these proteins will be present, they will be present in the membrane only. Okay, some carrier or transport proteins, they allow diffusion only if two types of molecules move together. Okay, and they are of the different types or the following types. Okay, and among them, one is called as what here? Symport. Okay, and in the textbook sequence, I will tell you, one is called as what here? Symport. You consider symport as the first one. Okay, it is nothing but what here? When two molecules together cross the membrane in same direction. Okay, when two molecules together cross the membrane in same direction. Okay, in the given diagram you can understand here. Okay, please watch the diagram. And here the last one is symport is there. Okay, what is the meaning of this one? If two molecules together cross the membrane in same direction, then it is said to be symport. Okay, or we can also mention like this. Okay, a symport is the transport of two types of molecules across the membrane in the same direction. Okay, we can call it as the symport. Okay, and another process is called as antiport. Okay, antiport means what here? Two molecules move in opposite directions. Two molecules move in opposite directions. Say for example, A molecule and B molecule, right? We mention them as A and B, right? Or we can also mention like this, right? An antiport is the transport. An antiport is the transport of two different molecules or substances in opposite directions. Okay, I will tell you once again. An antiport is the transport of two different molecules or substances in opposite directions. Okay, this is also called as antiport. Okay, and one more type is there, uniport. Okay, uniport means what here? A molecule alone. Here it refers to only one molecule, right? A molecule alone moves across a membrane through transport or carrier protein, right? Okay, this is called as uniport. Okay. uh, or we can also mention like this. Okay, it is the transport of a molecule or substance across the membrane independent of other molecules or substances. Okay, it is also called as uniport, right? It is also called as uniport, right? Then next one, active transport. Okay, the third type of transport or means of transport will be active transport, right? And here what is the definition here? It is the transport of molecules. Okay, it is the transport of molecules against concentration gradient. Okay, against concentration gradient, it means what here? The transport process will occur from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration. Okay, from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration. Okay, and with the expenditure of energy. Okay, with the expenditure of energy, it means, and here ATP is required. ATP is required, which is the energy currency of the cell. Okay, and what is the definition here? It is the transport of molecules against concentration gradient with the expenditure of energy. This is called as active transport, right? And here this will be, or this process will be carried out by the membrane proteins. Okay, again membrane proteins will be there in the membrane. Okay, and here we can give one example. Okay, like pumps. Okay, pumps means what here? They are also nothing but proteins only. Okay, pumps are proteins that use energy to transport substances across a cell membrane. Okay, that use energy means what here? They will use ATP molecules only. Okay, pumps are the proteins that use energy to transport substances across a cell membrane. Okay, and we consider this phenomenon as the uphill transport. Okay, uphill. Why we call it as the uphill transport here? Because the movement of substances will takes place from lower concentration to the higher concentration. Okay, so we consider it as the uphill transport. Okay, whereas the diffusion and the facilitated diffusion, okay, and even the osmosis can be considered as the downhill transport, because in these processes the movement of molecules or substances will take place from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Okay, all those processes are called as or considered as the downhill transport, but here active transport is considered as the uphill transport, right? And one more property of active transport is transport rate. Okay, what the point explains here, it is regarding the transport rate again. Okay, and here transport rate reaches a maximum. Okay, transport rate will reaches a maximum when all protein transporters are being used. Okay, it is like that of facilitated diffusion only, correct or no? Okay, and there also membrane proteins will be present, and here also membrane proteins will be present. Okay, and in case of active transport also, uh, the transport rate reaches a maximum when all protein transporters are being used or saturated. Okay, and one more point is, or one more character of the active transport is, the carrier protein is very specific. Okay, the carrier protein is very specific. These are sensitive to inhibitors. Okay, or some chemicals that react with the protein side chains, that react with the protein side chains, right? Okay, all these are the important points or characters regarding the active transport. Okay, and here in the given diagram you can understand. Okay, and this is the plasma membrane. At one side, what we mentioned, lower concentrated region, this is outside, and inside what we mentioned, higher concentrated region. Okay, and here the movement of the substances will occur from lower concentrated region to the higher concentrated region through the carrier protein. And in addition to the carrier protein, what is required here, ATP or energy is also required. Okay, and here uh, when the movement of the molecule or substance takes place from lower concentration to higher concentration through the membrane protein, energy is required. And during this process what will happen here, the ATP molecule will be there. Okay, it is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. Okay, and here this ATP undergoes hydrolysis. Okay, this ATP undergoes a hydrolysis. Okay, and the breaks its bonds. Okay, and here in between the adenosine and phosphate, whatever the bond will be there, that will be broken, and the energy will be released. Okay, it means the bond energy will be released here. Okay, and it helps in the movement of the substance from lower concentration to the higher concentration. Okay, and based on all these points, we are going to consider it as a, it as an active transport, right? Okay, then let us understand about the comparison. Okay, comparison of different transport processes. Okay, different transport processes, right? What are those? comparison. In first column, what is there? Property is there, and in second column, simple diffusion is there, and in third column, facilitated diffusion is there, and in fourth column, active transport is there. Okay, the what are the different properties they have mentioned here? Five important properties are there. Okay, one is requires membrane proteins, then second one is highly selective, then third one is transport saturates, then fourth one is uphill transport, then fifth one is requires ATP energy. All these are the properties. Okay, and let us consider first one, simple diffusion. Okay, whether it requires membrane proteins or not? No. Okay, for simple diffusion it doesn't require any membrane proteins. And let us come to the second column, facilitated transport. Okay, and here whether it requires membrane proteins? Yes. Okay, it requires membrane proteins, right? So we mention yes here. And the third one, active transport, whether this process requires membrane proteins or not? This also requires membrane proteins, right? So we mention yes. Okay, and let us understand about the second property, highly selective. Okay, and first process, simple diffusion, whether simple diffusion is highly selective or not? No, it is not highly selective. Okay, and the movements can the molecules or substances can move in a random fashion, right? Okay, and here the second point, facilitated diffusion, whether it is highly selective or not? Okay, it is also highly selective. Okay, and active transport, it is also considered as highly selective. So we mention for facilitated transport and active transport yes, and again yes, right? And third one, transport saturates. Okay, and in case of simple diffusion there will be no any transport saturation, but in case of facilitated transport and active transport there is a transport saturation. It means the transport rate reaches a maximum when all the proteins are saturated, or transport proteins are saturated or used. Okay, it is found in both facilitated transport as well as the active transport. Okay, then other property is there, one more property is there, it is uphill transport. And regarding simple diffusion, we don't consider it as an uphill transport. Okay, it is considered as a downhill transport, because the movement of substances takes place from higher concentration to the lower concentration. And even facilitated transport, no, we mention no, because the same case. Okay, here also the movement of substances takes place from higher concentration to the lower concentration. It is also an example for the downhill transport only. And here active transport can be considered as uphill transport, right? Because the movement of molecules or substances takes place from lower concentration to the higher concentration, right? So we mention yes here, right? And requires ATP energy. Okay, and whether simple diffusion requires ATP energy? No. Okay, it is not required here. But in case of facilitated diffusion, it also doesn't require any ATP energy. Okay, so we mention no, right? And in case of active transport, we mention yes here. Okay, we mention yes. Okay, it means what here? The active transport processes requires ATP energy, right? Okay, and and this is regarding the first part. Okay, and in first part what we have studied here, what are the important basic concepts we have studied? Okay, diffusion, then facilitated diffusion. Okay, basic points about the chapter, and the diffusion and facilitated diffusion as well as the active transport. And finally we have studied about the comparison between all the three processes, right? And in the next YouTube class uh, I will continue with the next part. What is there? The next part, Okay, plant water relations, plant water relations, right? And the next YouTube class I'm going to continue with this concept, right? Okay, thank you.